Cheers, big ears, and welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts, Leanne.
And I'm Lyle.
And we are not your usual travel influencers. No, we've decided we want to be travellers that travel under the influence. Okay, good joke?
Reasonable.
Well, there's plenty more where that come from. So join us as we travel the world, one wine at a time. Hola, everybody. Hola, Lyle.
Hola, Leonita.
We are back to record our next podcast, obviously, because you're listening. Probably don't need to say that at the beginning of each podcast, but anyway. In our international podcast studio here in where we are today, Oviedo. But our podcast is all about Burgos, which is where we went after Salamanca, which is a bit of a hard thing to follow up after Salamanca. See or no?
See, yes.
So how did we get to Burgos?
Okay, well, so we caught the bus again. It was about $30 each. And we went on extra economy. Oh, not extra economy.
Super economy.
Super economy.
The place we were staying, Pablo ordered a taxi for us because I didn't have the taxi number. Otherwise, probably could have done it myself. Which turned up nice and bright and early right outside our front door.
Yeah, right on the money it was.
It took us to the bus station, which is a lovely big bus station there in Salamanca. And yeah, we, for some reason, I booked a ticket that said super economy, and I don't know that I chose that one or that was the one available because there's not a lot of buses going from Salamanca to Oviedo on a Sunday. And it turns out, it was this bus was had 3 seats across instead of 4, so had all that extra space. So we had obviously one next to each other, and we had like a thing in the middle where we could put our drinks and like our bottles of water and our stuff, and it had a little screen with Wi-Fi as well, so you could charge in PowerPoint, so you could charge your phone. Yeah, it was very comfy. Aircon, it was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah. Look, it was about 250k from Salamanca to Burgos. It took about 3 hours. Burgos is in the Castile y Leon province.
So we're still sort of in the western side of Spain, sort of moving towards the north area now. Burgos, yeah.
Yeah, it was... we arrived about 1 p.m. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you go here.
What a story this was. Well, I don't know about everyone else, but I do a lot of the organising for our trips before we come away, and you hope everything's going to go okay, don't you? You hope you're not going to have too many disasters or something go wrong. And I wouldn't call this a disaster, but this was oh my gosh, it was the funniest arrival we've had at a place. So obviously since COVID, this time I was staying in another apartment, and since COVID a lot of people don't want to have contact on arrival, so they give you instructions where you how you get in the door of the apartment, and then how you find the key, and that sort of stuff. So and that's what this one was. But the bus stations, what, maybe a couple hundred metres, if that, from...
it was not that. It's probably 450 metres.
Yeah, so not far.
Long, but no.
I wouldn't have thought it was that far, to be honest. But anyway, it was we cut too close to get a taxi. You could basically see from the bus station corner to the plaza which we were going to. So... and so we walked that distance, and it's one of the cutest little entrances into an old town that I've seen. You cross this little, it's wide, but not too long bridge, and lots of little turrets to have a look at. And then right in front of the bridge is a paseo that you go across, which I'll tell you about a bit later. And then there's this great big arch. Lyle, have you got it's Arco de Santa Maria, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. And you've got some history on that, or no? I thought it was built by King Felipe. No, that's something else, isn't it? Anyway, so the big arch, this great big arch, so it's wide enough for 2 or 3 cars to go through at one time, or horse and carriages. And through that arch, you arrive into the Plaza del Rey San Francisco, I think. And anyway, so that's where our apartment is. Now, as we are coming across that bridge, you can hear all this noise, right? It's Sunday, it's quite hot. We've got all our suitcases, our backpacks. You know, we're trying to find our apartment, and you can see some people, and you can hear this almighty amount of noise. There's someone on a loudspeaker, and you're just like, what's going on? So we get through the arch, and there we are in front of the cathedral with the plaza there, and our accommodation is on the opposite side of where the arch is, and the plaza is jam-packed, full of people. We couldn't even move. You know, we're trying to push through people to get to our apartment. But what's happening is there is this parade going on in the plaza, and it seems like everyone in town turned up to see it, right? I'm going to tell you a bit about the parade in a little while. I just want to finish the story about getting to the apartment. So at this stage, I'm starting to get a bit stressed, aren't I, Dom? You
are.
Yeah, you know, and trying to manoeuvre through people, and we find
remembering that we've got, you know, suitcases and backpacks,
and no one's moving for us. They're all there to see this spectacle, and so we find our way, and you know, it's the wooden door, and it's apartment 1, and you know, the instructions are you press the button, you know, hold it for 3 seconds, and the door should open. Well, did that, didn't open, and you know, the instructions were it was next to a souvenir shop. So I thought, well, I'll go into the souvenir shop. So I left Lyle in front of the door, surrounded by, you know, throngs of people, and went into the souvenir shop. And I thought, I'd asked the guy there who didn't speak any English, so I tried in Spanish, and you know, I said, so anyway, I just decided I was going to ring the owner, and luckily I had his number on WhatsApp, and so I rang him, and he speaks pretty good English, nice guy, and he said, okay, I can open it remotely for you, so you need to go back to the door and ring me. And I said, no, don't hang up. Like, the noise is deafening outside. You can't hear a thing. I'm like, I can't ring you back. I'm not going to hear anything. You've got no idea. I'm pushing my way back through. And anyway, so I'm still on the phone to Romero, is the guy's name. And I push, you know, I'm there, and all of a sudden the door clicks, and we burst sort of through the door. And, you know, I'm holding the door open, and Lyle's trying to get the suitcases through the people and into the foyer, right?
Yeah, because there was people actually
standing
in front of the door.
Yeah, like, right. As a vantage point.
As a vantage point to see the parade. So we're trying to sort of get through, and it was just nightmare. And even, you know, I'm not sure that you didn't actually probably get that door open the first time, but you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah,
you couldn't hear a click. You couldn't hear anything.
And I'm not sure I haven't run over a few toes with my suitcase, but anyway. So we arrived there, and we're on the first floor. So, you know, I hang up with Romero, and I know the code to the key thing on the outside door. So we go up, and they're tiny little lifts, and so you get out, and of course the lights only come on automatically, and you've got to wave your arms around to get the lights on. And so there's a little key box, and I put the code in, and I open it up, and there's no keys. There's no keys in there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, well, let's try and knock it on the door, or, you know, no, nothing. So then I've got to ring Ramiro back again. And I said, you know, in my best sort of Spanish and his best English, you know, there's no key. And he's like, just give me a minute and call me back. So I hang up, and I ring him back, and he's like, okay, you need to go across the plaza again. Like, so across the other side, through these throngs of people again, to a bar restaurant over there. They've got a set of keys in case of emergencies. So I said, like, you wait here, you know, in the dark corridor, and I'll go, because I'm probably going to need a bit of Spanish. So, you know, it's a bit easier without the suitcases. So, you know, like in and out, pushing my way. I get to the restaurant, and I explain what I am, and they're looking at me like I've got two heads. But then I think it must have been the owner comes out with some keys and gives them to me. So back through in and out through the crowd, you know, back through the apartment door, move people out of the way. Well, you know, like, that's our apartment door. Get out of the way. You know, up we go, and I open the door, and as we open the door, oh, you don't believe it. There's the cleaner right in front of the door. I nearly knock her over tea. She's mopping the floor, right?
Yeah. So the reason the key's not in the box out the front is because the cleaner hadn't finished.
She hadn't finished, right? And anyway, she was very nice, and she told us to, just can you get off my bloody floor here? I've done in there, So we go in there and wait, and I ring Ramiro back and tell him that, the cleaner was still there, and, it was all a misunderstanding. And I asked him, do you want me to take the keys back? And I said I would, but not now. But then I want to tell you about what we saw. Like, we had the best view from the balcony, didn't we? And this was why the plaza was full. And this is one of those memories for me that's going to go down, like as something like that trip to Spain in 2022. I'll be like, yeah, remember that day. And it was a parade going on of these huge figurines. They're called gigantones and gigantillos, and they're giants. So they've got a big wooden frame at the bottom, and someone hops in under that, and then they build this sort of costume and head of the kings and queens of from medieval times.
Yeah, from the different regions.
But that's what the whole that's it, from different regions. So it dates back to medieval times. Now the thing about this one was there was nearly 150 of these gigantes, I call them, or giants, and big heads this day in this one plaza, and they're from over 7 regions in Spain. So there were people from all over Spain there. So not just the locals, there were visitors from everywhere. Now this parade's quite usual in other parts of Spain, especially in Castilla, but here in Burgos they have not done this since 2000. So we arrived on the day that this parade was taking part, and it hadn't done for 22 years. So no wonder the town was all out. No wonder they were all excited. And we had a balcony which overlooked the parade.
Yeah, basically, I mean, we jagged it again. By the time we actually got to the balcony, it was sort of the end of the actual plaza part of the...
That's right, they'd all gone in and lined up in the plaza.
There was the end of that part. So they were actually then, all these giants were filing off because it was really, really hot. It was about 40 degrees.
But that was the part of it. That was the parade back to the end of it.
So it was the parade back to another area. Well, that parade went right past the balcony that Liam was taking all the video on the pics. You couldn't have jagged it any better.
And each sort of area had their own sort of group together,
Sure, and they had musos.
Right, music, and they had little bands and people dancing. And and I say this every podcast, I got so many pictures. I was so impressed. I was so happy. You've got to go and check them out on our website or on our Instagram, because you've never seen anything like it. The noise and the fun and the people. So they were from Catalonia, Valencia, Navarra, Aragon, Madrid, and even as far as Murcia away.
Yeah.
They were all there for this parade on the day that we arrived in Burgos. And they're gorgeous. Some of them are so solemn in their faces, the kings and queens, and others, have got these great big boggly eyes, like almost cartoonish, and then they're dancing.
Yeah.
They're swinging around, the skirts are flying out, the whole skirt's taking up the whole alleyway, and others are jigging up and down like they're dancing. Oh my gosh, it was absolutely incredible. So as stressful as it was and difficult as it was getting to our apartment, it was actually worth it in the end. See or no?
Just one thing, it was. But you were right, it is the Arco de Santa Maria, the medieval gateway to Burgos. It was built in the 16th century by Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor.
Oh, there you go. So what a fancy entrance into the plaza.
Correct.
See? So after all that excitement, stress, excitement, all the above, it's obviously time for us to explore. The plaza emptied about as quick as you can imagine. Once all the giants had gone, the plaza was basically empty from people, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All the bars closed up and everything. So we went for a walk.
Yeah, we did. We went back through the Arch Santa Maria, and the actual Burgos is basically alongside the Alanzon River.
Okay.
And
so they've got that walkway, which is called the Paseo de Espolón. Which goes, obviously 2 or 3 blocks, along the beautiful river there, and we decided to walk along there. Yeah,
we did, and it was hot. So one of the features that I found was the trees along that paseo.
Oh, how good were they? It's actually one of the prettiest paseos I've seen, with the promenade, and because of the trees. And I got some, once again, good photos, and you see the difference between day and night. But these trees, we still don't know what they are. If someone can have a look and let us know, I'd be so pleased to know. We've been trying to figure it out. Someone told us they were banana trees, but not banana trees.
We know what a banana tree is. Right? We're from Queensland.
Yeah, your banana. You've got these trees, and they're planted, obviously, it's the same distance apart on each side. And they've grown up quite high, and they're, the leaves and branches are forming a nice shade. But when you look closely, what they've actually done, is they've joined these trees together. So across the middle, they've got branches and somehow grafted them together. So the trees become one across the middle. But they've also done it sideways. So I don't know how many trees, but they're all one living archway along the paseo. It's something to behold, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And, there's nowhere that you get under there that you can't get beautiful shade, and the leaves are, it's just, I've never seen anything like that either. Like, it was so beautiful, and then lit up at night, beautiful.
Yeah, so on one side you've got, the restaurants, cafes. On the old town side of the paseo, you've got the restaurants, the cafes, and the ice cream shops, and the ice cream shops, and the ice cream shops. But on the other side, as you said, you've got the Alanzon River, but there was also what looked like a semi-permanent artisan market.
Yeah, really lovely. They were handmade jewellery, dried flower pitchers, silver stuff, and they were actually glass blowing little trinkets.
Yeah, and they were actually doing it on the spot. It was really intriguing. And again, I thought originally it was part of the festival because it had, each of the...
They're from different areas, right?
Each of the marquees
so from Toledo.
were labelled, Toledo, Salamanca, Seville. But I'm not. I thought it was actually connected to the parade.
It was still there after the parade, wasn't it?
Yeah, but once the parade, it was there for the 3 days we were there. Yeah. So, but it was really, really impressive.
Yeah, we enjoyed that. But to finish day one off, because we're still only on day one, we found somewhere to grab something to eat. It's I thought people would open a bit earlier, go for the further north, but it seems that they open later, and we were a bit early. We only were able to find a sandwich. So once we'd sort of gone for a walk, we started then to go sort of internal into town, and then we found the Plaza Mayor. And that's pretty big. Yeah, and it's all the different colours. It's not a square, this one. It's
not at all.
Shaped. And lots of shoe shops.
Yeah, if it had been designed for a bull ring, I reckon it would have confused the bulls, the shape of it. But the one thing that did have, what was it?
I don't know.
Fabulous shoe shops.
Oh, yeah, fabulous shoe shops, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Patricia had told you that the shopping was going to... Yeah, it was pretty good there.
Pretty nice.
But as Lan said, we stopped at a cafe and all we could get was cervezas, like drinks.
They weren't doing food on the Sunday
night.
No
one did food.
Yeah.
No one. And anyway, eventually we searched and we come across a place and... nice enough. Viva Pepe. And we just got some bocadillas, and they were nice enough. I think it was, €12, about $18, and that was for dinner.
But that's all we needed. We'd had a big day, and I think we were ready to call it.
Yeah. So then from there we we thought, well, we'll do a bit of a block here, and we walked up, and there was another square, and you could really observe the buildings in the different colours.
Yeah, that's true. That was nice, wasn't it? The blues and yellows.
Yeah, and mauves and that sort of thing. And as you said, you know, they must give the locals some sort of palette of colour that they can actually paint the external part of their buildings.
Sure.
And it's actually, you know, quite unique to Burgos. And then of course we decided, well, we better head home. We weren't sure which way we were going, but we had the cathedral spires, and we knew that was sort of our landmark. We walk around the corner, and here's this bar, and it's full of people, or not a street full of bars, restaurants and cafes, and it was full. So we went a bit early there, but we did see Pancho's.
Yeah, did we find it that night though?
We didn't go in.
Okay.
We didn't go in because we decided that we'd already eaten them. We were tired, but we thought, and this is somewhere also, I think Pat.
Yeah, no, Pat definitely gave us those.
That recommendation.
Our Spanish friend in Australia, Pat and Carlos, gave us that because her family's from Burgos. Yeah.
Yeah, so we.
So we thought we'll come back there. So we headed home. Yep, and decided to call it a night because we had such a big day. So
we really haven't mentioned the apartment, though, have we?
No, I was just going to say we went back to the apartment, and I was just about to good point, Dylan. We think alike, don't we? So we went back to our apartment, which, you know, as we said before, was on the square opposite the Cathedral of Burgos. You know, right there in the old town, and it was actually a 2-bedroom apartment, which gave me somewhere to put all my crap. It's on the first floor, you know, just lovely set out and clean and nice shower, and had everything you needed. You did hear a little bit of noise from downstairs, but it wasn't really that bad, was it? And it was owned by this guy, as I mentioned before, called Romero. Now, when I did book the apartment, I did notice a little sentence that stood out to me in the description was, our family does own a winery if you are interested in a tour. So that's probably the main reason I booked it, along with the closeness to the bus station and also to the old town and the river for walking. So yeah, it was a great apartment. We're going to tell you a little bit more about Ramiro in a little while. Because we had a whole day doing that winery thing that was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, let's say we just finished our day. You know, probably took a bottle of wine with us and sat in our apartment and, you know, looked out over the cathedral and just thought how lucky we were to be relaxing in Burgos. You know?
Well, that close to the cathedral. We could actually see into the cathedral from the apartment.
Some of the figurines.
Yeah, because when we did the tour of the cathedral, when we went in, we looked up and we thought, that's our apartment.
That's our apartment right there, yeah. So day 2, we headed out, wanted to go for a walk. And luckily there's a lovely walk along the river, which we took, didn't we, Don? We did. It was... yeah, it was.
Sorry, I've just lost train of thought there. We went for a walk along, and it was quite warm again during the day, and we really didn't know where we were going. We just wanted to walk. We wanted a bit of an exercise after the travelling, and we ended up going down towards the university, the Burgos University. The facilities of the university were fabulous. They had running tracks, beautiful big swimming pool area.
That's the new part, but we actually got to the old part and had a little explore because everyone's on holidays and we just wandered through all the old buildings, didn't we?
Yeah, like it was, but I mean, there was one park that we walked along and it was huge. But it was pretty dry, I think.
Yeah, they obviously haven't been able to water that one.
Yeah, and that was. But
the river's nice, isn't it? You know, it's not a wide, big river. It's sort of shallow and lots of little rocks in there and.
This little bit babbling brook, I would have probably...
Babbling brook, with the trees hanging over and, that was really nice. I enjoyed that. But the thing I was really impressed with our walk is we actually walked a section of the Camino de Santiago, which, not on purpose, I have to say. We discovered, we were following the stars and the shells, sorry.
The shells, yeah.
Yeah, and we got a photo to prove it, and the reason we knew it was because we were not surrounded, but there's people with their backpacks and their walking sticks and, they're all following maps and, how exciting to do that little bit of the Camino. I was really rapt to do that.
Yeah, we did about 6K of the Camino, so I wouldn't be too boasting too much. Okay. But, that was one thing, that the Burgos is a very important pilgrim spot for the Camino de Santiago.
Well, right outside our apartment, there's like the cathedral, as we were saying, and there's like a chair with, I don't know who's sitting on it with his walking stick, like a statue, and just about any time of the morning, you can see someone there taking photos.
Yeah, I think the whole thing for that, it is an anonymous, pilgrim.
Oh, I see.
I think that's what they do, and it's obviously one of the things the pilgrims do. They get a pic with that,
and they go into the cathedral. It's something you do on your ways.
Yeah, sure, and they've even got lockers
to put your backpacks and stuff.
In
the cathedral entrance for the
for the backpack
for the pilgrims.
For the pilgrims, or the people doing the
Camino.
The Camino, but so that was interesting.
But it took us a while because we stopped and we explored and we had a look around at the uni, and we walked a bit further and came back, and we're gone for hours, and we walked up the other side of the river, didn't we? Yeah,
we decided that we go up the modern city side of the river, and we were surprised. I mean, the residential part on that side was pretty impressive.
Sure, yeah.
I actually said to Len that I think there's a bit of money in Burgos, because they were big houses.
You're very different from the apartment blocks that you normally see in suburban Spanish cities, isn't it? Weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lyle just said, we'll just follow the river. It'll eventually get us back to where we got to go. So,
that's right. So we eventually crossed back over the river through the arch, and
by this time it's quite late in the after lunchtime, so getting hot. So I think we decided that it's siesta time for sure.
Yeah.
And time to rest our weary Camino walking legs, eh?
Because we knew that we were going to have a treat at Pancho's.
Well, we also knew you got to go out later. You know, so there's no point going out at 6 o'clock. So you may as well have a sleep and go out a bit later, which is what we did really. And as Lyle said, we went to Casa Pancho's. See?
Yeah.
And once again, was recommended, from our Spanish friends who, spend a lot of time family in Burgos, so they knew where to send us. So off we went, plonked ourselves at the bar. Yeah,
we were probably a little bit early still for most Spaniards.
Sure.
But so we were able to get chairs right at the bar.
Yeah, front row seats.
And it was a bit of a front row seat sort of thing. It was quite entertaining to watch the guys. They're all the service guys behind middle-aged guys.
All dressed up in their pressed black pants.
Black pants, and they've got their aprons on them with their white shirts, and they look fabulous, and they're just really efficient. But then occasionally you see the people that bring out. I'll go back a step. You've got all the pinchos or tapas, depending on where you come from. In Burgos, it's called pinchos. That's all laid out in display on the bar, and it looks fabulous. But the meal that you get is basically cooked out the back, and it's cooked to order. And we, the ladies, the people that do all the work are all the ladies in the kitchen. But it was fabulous. But the funny thing was, every time we ordered something, we got upsold. Remember?
Yeah, we just said we'll have some of those tigres, which are mussels.
Yeah.
And he said, but you want 4 each, don't you? Not that you want normal 2 each.
Yeah, and if you
of course we do.
And then they had these beautiful mushrooms, and they were done in garlic, like with like a breadcrumb on the top.
Yeah, we had mushrooms with our garlic.
Yeah, and there was 4 to a serve. No. You need 8. You need 8.
Yeah, 2 serves.
Anyway, so this was all the way through, and then there was a guy that came in, and he was obviously in charge. I think he was the owner. He definitely was the owner. Anyway, we introduced ourselves to Jose, and he's or Jose or Pepe, as he shrugged his shoulders, whatever you want to call me. And he went on to, say how he'd been to all these countries and all this sort of thing. And he'd been to over 70 countries, that's right. And
not Australia.
But he had planned to go to Australia.
And then COVID hit.
And then the COVID hit.
And what happened to his business?
11 months.
Yeah,
closed. 11 months. But interesting, when we introduced ourselves, he found it difficult to say Lyle. Now,
he did, so he called him Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Now, I don't know whether he was saying that I was full of gas, full of bullshit, or maybe I was just the real thing.
Oh, get away.
So he then took over our service. And again, he was ordering stuff that we didn't even order. Like he's saying, you've got to try this. The mariscus, which was the seafood thing. He said, you've got to try this.
He said, this tastes like mushrooms, but it's not mushrooms. I'm like, oh, God.
So we had no idea what we were eating.
It was probably that nose and tripe stew.
Yeah, it could have been. Or it didn't have the pig's face. So,
that was a lot of
anyway,
fun,
to tell you the truth, everything we had was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
So Leanne gave...
well, and also he was so friendly and helpful and just a lot of fun. And he was mucking around with some of the guys,
he's number one.
Yeah. So it was a whole lot of fun. So yeah, he got a koala. He got the koala award in Burgos because he was just just so much fun. And he was, I think the food was good, the wine was nice, but the show was. Yeah, even better, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, I still think my favourite part of going away is meeting new people.
Sure, it was fun. And we did sneak back in another time in the choir. He put it up on the
shelf
behind the bar, in between two, of those figurines that we saw the day before, like in between those two, and we snuck back in and had a look, and it was still there the next day. So. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and as you said, the comida was perfecto, and it was so cheap.
The food, he means, the comida.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was so cheap.
Yeah, it was a really good night. We really enjoyed our walking and our exploring and panchos and the food. And as Lyle said, it was cheap, wasn't it, darling? So
yeah. Well, just to make you aware. Burgos was selected as the Spanish gastronomy capital of 2013, and in 2015 was named the City of Gastronomy by UNESCO. So they're a pretty proud bunch.
Yeah. But if you had told us that on the first night when we were having a sandwich, we would have been like,
yeah, that's fair call.
But we stuck it out, and it's a fabulous little place, and the streets full of those sort of pinchos or tapas bars. So that was our day 2. So as I mentioned before, Ramiro, who owns the apartment, also has a winery in a little town. Just out of Burgos. How far, Dom?
It's not far at all. So it took us about 40 minutes on the local bus.
Yeah, so we walk up to the bus station.
Yep.
We've organised this with Romero, obviously. And I go and buy the tickets in Spanish because not many people speak English at the bus station. And yeah, we head out to Lerma, Lerma, Lerma.
Yeah, Lerma's got about 2,500 people population. It's about 850 metres above sea level, so it's reasonably quite high. And then you look down and on all the valleys with all the wineries, the vines. So we had a bit of a look around town. Look, it's only small.
And it was hot.
Very, very hot.
Yeah.
Had a pretty impressive Plaza Mayor, but
the standout was the Parador, which we've talked about in an earlier
and that was
episode.
built in 1601 to 1617, and it was basically built by one of the local nobles for King Felipe the Third, if he ever came through.
Yeah.
But the actual, we actually snuck inside and had a look at the Parador, and it was really, really nice.
It was beautiful.
So we probably walked around for maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah, we had a drink.
Yeah,
Coffee,
we had
actually, didn't we? I don't know.
No, actually, we had sparkling water.
Oh, look at us
We
go.
did. We had sparkling water.
Well, you were going to a winery, I suppose.
Yeah, we were, and it was just pretty hot, and the locals looked at us like,
who are you?
Yeah, who are you? But anyway,
and having water. And then so I rang Romero, and he came and picked us up. And what a lovely guy. Yeah. And he took us to where they make the wine. They don't grow the grapes there. They're, as Lyle will tell you, they're grown somewhere else. But the winery was called Palacio de Lerma, right? And it's 5 minutes out of town.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a one-man show, isn't it? Really, it's his winery, and
well, it's
tell us
his
a bit
family.
about it,
It's his family's winery. Look, he was fabulous. He reminded me of Adrian Tobin at
in the Granite Belt at
and the Granite
Estate.
Belt. Yeah.
Very passionate.
Very, very passionate.
And the same principles about making wine.
Yeah, very much so. They produce about 20,000 bottles of wine per year. They're only quite small, and only about 1,000 of that are white.
And most of them are sold in the local community.
Correct.
Local area.
Yeah.
Or you can get them in Burgos, so that sort of area. So it's a bit like Tasmania that way. Tasmanian wines don't make it. Many of them make it to the mainland.
But he showed us, pointed to where the winery was, where they actually grow the grapes, which was quite high. And as he said, that because there's such extremes of weather with the cold and the heat, that helps the grapes. And they're basically in rocky gravel. They're planted there. And
they handpick them?
Yeah, they handpick them, and then before they crush, they go through the handpicking again. And in these wine areas, they have to meet certain regulations for them to be affiliated, I suppose,
or certified.
And they call them. There's a DO and a DOC, part of that is how long they've got to spend in the oak barrels, and then they have other categories of wine of the grapes that have to meet even better standards. So
if you get your bottle of wine, it's got those markings on the back, it's a good wine.
Yeah, you do.
So the other thing to mention too, like in Australia, and you go to wine and you have wine tasting, and so you taste the wines, and sometimes it's free. A lot of times it's free. Sometimes they ask you to pay, and if you buy wine, they take that money off the wine. But in Spain, you don't do wine tastings on their own. You actually have to do a tour of the winery and get like a lesson on how the wines are made, and then you get to taste, and you actually pay to have a wine tour. But this is only a little place, but it was great because it was just us and Romero, and he's showing us around the vats and where the grapes are picked, and then the oak barrels.
He showed us which were the French oak barrels and which were the American oak barrels, and
they moved from here to here and here to there.
So, and as part of this regulation, they have to be in the oak barrels for 12 months and in the bottles for 2 years. I think that's for the reserva, but I won't go into that detail because it is quite detailed. But it's for Romero, it's all about the grape. They don't use yeast. They don't add yeast. They
don't need to.
Well, I think it's just that
no sulfites.
No sulfite, and they let the natural fermentation
process happen. Yeah, and,
so which obviously takes a lot longer.
I've got some nice photos of the winery too, the barrels and the bottles and things there to have a look at.
So the tasting, we tried a white, and we tried the rosé and the Reserva red.
The red,
now there was plates of cheese and gear,
hamon,
and staring at us, and I'm thinking, oh well, he's gonna we'll have a bit of cheese and we'll have a bit of wine and whatever, but no, that's not what happened. And the reason for that is that he would ask us to taste the white wine, and we tasted that, and then we went on to the red, to the rosé, and he said, now I want you to go back and taste the white wine again. And how he explained how when you open the bottle of wine and you swirl the glass, how the different aroma compounds change. So that when you have a bottle of you open a bottle of wine at home, maybe on the balcony, and this is quite funny because it reminded me of Adrian again, and he said this bullshit about having cheese and that with wine, he said it's ridiculous. He said it camouflages the flavour of the wine and how it changes. And that's exactly what Romero said. Because he made us go back, taste the wine, and he said, now what do you taste? And Leanne, I've got to tell you, was top of the class. She picked all the different flavours, how it changed and she picked the salt. She picked the
citrus taste. To be honest, I felt like a bit of a wine snob, but I could just taste different stuff. You know, like raspberries. I could taste raspberries at one stage, and then
chocolate in the red.
Yeah, and the lemon sort of taste, and then it started sweet, and then it got a bit salty. All that stuff. So to stop us sounding like wine wankers, we won't go too much further. But interestingly, when we'd finished tasting the wine, that's when he gave us the cheese. Because, as I said... It was a fabulous experience though, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, he was so patient with us and explaining it. And, of course, Leanne and him were speaking in Spanish for most of it. And so I'm sort of...
Drinking.
Yeah. But, look, it was a fabulous experience.
And then we decided we'd go to lunch.
Yeah, so he said that he told us he was going to recommend us somewhere for lunch, and he was happy to drop us off, and we thoroughly enjoyed his company. So we said, look, come to lunch with us.
Which is one of the best decisions we made because he's well known in town.
Yeah. So he's a bit of a hero in the town. So we went to lunch.
The best restaurant with the best table. Yeah.
I think we got the best table because we were with Romero, and then he got into trouble because he was supposed to
bring wine with him.
He was supposed to drop off some wine, and he didn't. So, but we had a bottle of his rosé over dinner, over lunch.
Lunch, and we got the menu of the day, and not everyone. People were saying to us, our Spanish friends, you've got to try this when you're in Burgos. You've got to try this when you're in Burgos. You've got to try this. And so we decided we're going to be brave. We're going to have the menu del dia, which had all these, stuff from food. So we had the blood sausage with rice, and then we had the suckling pig.
Suckling lamb.
Suckling lamb. Sorry.
Yeah. So he took us to the Hotel Posada de Eurofrasio. Look, and when you walk into the actual restaurant, it's really old-fashioned, traditional
glamour,
opulence of España. It's really, really. And anyway, we'll walk through, and we sit at the best table because we're with Romero, and you just look out over the valleys, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, but how good was the food?
The food was, as you said, the first course we had was like a selection of meats and local meats and that sort of stuff. And of course, Leanne and I are avoiding the blood sausage, but Romero, we've got to trust Romero because he's been so kind to us. So we actually ate the blood sausage. I wasn't that keen on the skin. However, it wasn't too bad. It was okay. And then we had the suckling lamb, and of course then Romero went through the different parts, the meat, the body of the suckling lamb,
anyway,
which we didn't really need to know about.
Let's move on from that.
And
let's go dessert.
And then I had, I think I had panna cotta, and it was absolutely
and cheesecake.
Spectacular.
They make the best cheesecake in Spain. I've never tasted cheesecake like it. It's amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
and then he dropped us back at the
railway station,
the bus station.
Bus station, yeah.
And our bus going back was at 4:15. You leave right on time at 4:15 for our sort of half-hour, 40-minute trip back to Burgos.
It seemed quicker than the way we got there, but maybe that's because we had the wine tour.
We did, yeah. So what a fabulous day in the in Lerma in the winery, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks to Romero. It was fabulous. We loved it. Our last night in Burgos, after our day out, of course, there was one place that we just thought we had to go back to. We didn't really need a big dinner because we'd had a huge lunch. Yeah. And so we went back to see...
We really went back to Pancho's to see whether Kevin the koala was still sitting on the shelf.
Or whether he just threw in the bin after we left.
Yeah. But anyway, Kev was still there. We had... had a couple of little things and we actually mentioned Pancho's to Romero and he said, I go there all the time. And then when we were looking up, we actually saw that Romero's wine was on the wine list.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we had we probably were there for about 30 minutes and we were buggered, so we just went home.
Yeah, but that was a nice way to finish our third day in Burgos. But
one thing I've got to mention, we went and we did a tour of the cathedral. Now, the Burgos cathedral's, a really world-renowned cathedral.
And especially because it's part of the pilgrimage on the Camino de Santiago.
Yeah, so it's quite significant. But the two things that stood out for me was the stained glass windows. Like, they're huge.
Not just the ones in the actual the church part, but there's like an annex to the
separate,
church,
yeah,
and which joins onto it. It's like a big sort of courtyard.
And the four walls are stained glass windows.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
All the way around, and very, very pretty.
Yeah, very unique. I've never seen anything like that.
Although I did get a nice video and a nice picture inside the cathedral with the stained glass, the sun shining through the stained glass window, and I'm sitting on a
Oh,
view,
that's right.
And it looks like I'm sitting in a rainbow.
Correct. Yeah. That was
a pretty special moment.
You were quite clever there.
Yeah,
I thought. But and then the other thing that's which is going to sound a bit sad, but I don't know. El Cid was a bit of a hero of Burgos. Back in the Middle Ages,
back in the day,
and he ended up quite wealthy, and he fought on both sides, the Moors and for the King Alfonso, and he basically played one off against the other. He was a naughty boy. He wasn't well behaved, but he ended up quite wealthy. But anyway, they actually have El Cid's coffin in the cathedral. Now,
in the annex to the cathedral.
The way you read it in the history, and I've heard there's a particular podcast called the Reconquista, and they talk about El Cid being this hero and whatever. I reckon his coffin was for about a 5 foot. You would have been about 5 foot. It was not that big. But then...
But Spanish people aren't that big.
No, I know. But it just, like, you think about this hero and you have these huge monuments and statues.
So you think he's like a 6 foot muscle man?
6'7".
That was a picture of him, though, right?
Oh, there was a model, but it wasn't a historical picture.
Painting,
it was quite painting. It was quite a modern one, and you're going to be surprised. He was a spitting image of Chris Hemsworth.
As this soldier standing in the lavender fields, with his battle regalia on, and you look up, it could have been Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. So I think they might be embellishing that a little bit, but
you were impressed to see the actual coffin of El Cid.
Yeah, because it was only probably a week that I'd heard the actual podcast on El Cid and Alphonse and how they.
And that's where we after we sort of walked around. You go out through the corridor with the figurines on each side.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's where we sort of said earlier. We looked out and you could see our apartment. Yeah, because I was looking down from our apartment thinking, oh, we should go and have a look in there. And then all of a sudden we're there looking back up at our apartment. So we enjoyed the cathedral. You can see its relevance to the pilgrims of the Camino for sure. They certainly cater to that, and we had to go through it because it's right there, opposite our apartment. Yeah. Yeah.
It's but I was another thing that sort of got me is I'd heard about the Camino de Santiago, and I knew it was about St. James. What I didn't know that Santiago in
Spanish?
No, actually in English.
Latin?
In English.
Means St. James.
Means St. James.
Yes, the way of St. James. That's what the Camino de Santiago means.
Yeah, so... Yeah. But what do you think about Burgos?
Burgos? Well, I say every time I rated it. Do you know what? 3 days was enough. And having the day at the winery was great.
Yeah, that was a highlight for me.
Yeah, and for me the highlight was coming across the parade. Just the luck of doing that on our arrival. But yeah, I think if you want somewhere to stop off, and it's a bit a bit unusual. It's got a beautiful paseo with the trees. The history of the Camino de Santiago and some nice shopping. The arc going into the
arch,
the arch going into Arco, going into the plaza area. The old town with the different coloured buildings and the Plaza Mayor. I think Burgos is definitely worth a visit for a few days. I would definitely say that. Was it my favourite Spanish city? Probably not, but I've got some of my favourite memories. That's for sure. Your favourite place to have a drink, Lyle? Oh no. You got to pick one. Is it Palacio de Lerma? Or is it Casa Panchas?
Well, I mean, to be truthful, it's got to be Panchas because that's in Burgos. Plaza de Lerma is in Lerma.
Phooey.
So,
it's the same trip.
No, well, I loved it. I loved Burgos. I thought... It was really, really special. I think you're right. 3 days is enough. But the fact that we were able to do that wine tour with Romero, I'll never forget that. And how nice a man he was. And having lunch with him, he spent all that time with us that he didn't have to.
Look, if you're in Spain, in that area... the three wines that we tried, I can't remember what the red one was called, but the white was called Ere Norte, so Palacio de Lerma, and the rosé, the Rosado de Palacio de Lerma.
Rosé, yeah.
Yeah, it's Rosada. So that's the winery. Palacio de Lerma.
And the red we had was, can't remember the name of it, but it was a Reserva, which is the top of the tree.
But if you find that wine anywhere in that sort of Burgos, Castile y Leon area, you have to try it.
Yeah, and the wine region area is called Alasan.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not, you've got Roeda and you've got Rioja.
How do you
that
spell
area it's ARL
AZON, Alazan or something.
Yeah.
O-N.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alazan.
Okay. That's good to know. Like the river.
Sure. I think that's what the connection is.
Oh, there we go.
Leanne, you're so quick sometimes.
Yeah. So that's our 3 days and 1 day in Lerma, 2 days in Burgos podcast. And as I've said many times, you can go to our website at beachtravelwine.com, and there you can click on the blog, which has all the show notes from Burgos and all the photos of the places that we're talking about. Or you can go to Instagram at beachtravelwine, and you can see the photos I've put on there, but also in the story highlights up the top where it says Burgos, you'll see all the videos of us walking around and those videos of that parade, like that we're talking about, that hadn't happened, in over 20 years, and 160 figurines that's there, and the views of Lerma and the wineries and stuff. So yeah, go and check that out, and thanks for listening. Adios.
Adios, amigos.